And slowly, people started stepping back. Former co-stars stopped liking her posts. Some unfollowed her entirely. A few gave interviews where they'd say things like, "Everyone has their journey," or "We wish her the best," which in reality TV language means we don't talk anymore and probably never will. Crew members who once hyped her on their private accounts quietly stopped engaging. Production assistants scrubbed tagged photos. The warm mentions dried up. One by one, the people who worked closest to her disappeared from her orbit. Not loudly, but noticeably. Fans who defended her started asking uncomfortable questions. Why is she the only one acting like this? If she's so right, why is everyone distancing themselves? Is this still TV drama or is this something else? And that's when the comments section turned on her. Hard. Because once the public smells performative chaos instead of authentic pain, the backlash is brutal. Screenshots of deleted rants started circulating. Old clips were recontextualized. Suddenly, the fiery moments fans once loved looked manipulative under a new lens. The tears seemed rehearsed. The outbursts calculated. The victim narrative started feeling staged. And worse, fans started noticing she never actually addressed anything head-on. Just hints, just shade, just chaos with no resolution. The mask didn't slip. It shattered. In real time. On every platform. And Jasmine, who once controlled the narrative so tightly, lost the script entirely. Because when your fan base stops defending you and starts questioning you, the fall isn't slow. It's instant. But even as the backlash grew, Jasmine wasn't backing down. In fact, she doubled down in ways no one expected. And that's exactly where the next explosion started. When someone loses everything publicly, they usually go quiet. Apologize, rebrand, disappear for a while. Not Jasmine. She went the opposite direction. Word started spreading among insiders that she was preparing something big. A full revenge arc. Not a tearful apology tour. A scorched earth tell-all that would make the network sweat, allegedly. She began hinting to close contacts that she had receipts. Screenshots of private DMs with producers. Contract details fans weren't supposed to see. Audio recordings of arguments that never made the edit. Text chains with other cast members talking candidly about production manipulation. She didn't just want to clear her name. She wanted to blow the whole operation wide open. Some thought she was bluffing. Others believed her completely. Because Jasmine wasn't exactly known for making empty threats, if she said she had something, chances were good she had it saved in 3 places with timestamps and backups, and she knew exactly how to play this. Drop a teaser on Instagram, post a cropped screenshot on TikTok. Go live and say something vague like, "Wait until you hear what they wouldn't let me say on camera." The fans who turned on her, she'd win them back by positioning herself as the whistleblower. The network that cut her, she'd frame them as the villains silencing the truth. It was manipulation dressed up as transparency. And if executed right, it could flip the entire narrative back in her favor. But TLC saw it coming. And they moved fast. Legal letters started flying. Cease and desist warnings. Reminders about non-disclosure agreements she signed before ever stepping on set. Clauses that explicitly forbade releasing behind-the-scenes material, private conversations, or anything that could damage the show's brand. Jasmine may have had receipts, but the network had contracts. And those contracts had teeth. Sources say she was warned multiple times that posting certain materials could result in lawsuits. Not for defamation necessarily, but for breach of contract, which meant financial penalties, potential loss of any remaining payment owed. Even the possibility of being sued for damages if her leaks hurt the franchise's reputation or caused measurable financial harm. And that's when things got truly ugly, because now it wasn't just personal, it was legal warfare. And Jasmine wasn't backing down. The tension escalated. Jasmine would post something cryptic. TLC's legal team would send another warning. She'd delete it. Then post something even vaguer. It became a cat-and-mouse game where every story, every caption, every comment reply was being monitored by both sides. Fans watching had no idea they were witnessing a standoff in real time. And here's where it gets psychologically messy. Jasmine's final play wasn't facts or receipts. It was sympathy through chaos. She started framing herself as the underdog, the silenced voice, the woman who dared to speak up and got punished for it. Every vague post, every emotional live session, every teary-eyed video became part of a larger strategy to position TLC as the bully and herself as the brave soul refusing to be controlled. It was brilliant in a twisted way, because even if fans didn't fully believe her, they'd want to. People love a David versus Goliath story. And Jasmine was betting everything on becoming David. Even if the slingshot was loaded with half-truths and carefully edited context, but the network wasn't playing. They tightened the legal grip, monitored her accounts, prepared countermeasures in case she went nuclear. And sources say they even reached out to platforms directly, flagging potential NDA violations before posts could go fully viral. Jasmine had the audience. She had the receipts. She had the motive. But what she didn't have anymore was the freedom to use any of it without risking everything she had left. So the tell-all that could have destroyed TLC's reputation, it never dropped. Not because Jasmine didn't want to, but because the legal walls closed in too fast. And now, all that's left is the question, did she lose the war, or is she just waiting for the right moment to strike back? So what's the real lesson here? Because if you've been watching closely, Jasmine's downfall wasn't just about her emotions getting the best of her. It was about strategy weaponized beyond control. She didn't accidentally blow up her career. She built a system. Drama equals attention, attention equals leverage, leverage equals power. And ran it so hard the engine exploded. She learned how to make producers panic, how to trigger social media frenzies, how to position herself as untouchable. And for a while it worked. She became the center of the show without ever needing a producer's approval. That takes skill, whether we like admitting it or not. But here's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to say out loud. Reality TV taught her to do this. The franchise rewards chaos. It promotes the loudest voices, the wildest breakdowns, the most explosive confrontations. Jasmine didn't invent the playbook. She just ran it better than anyone else. And when the same system that built her up decided she'd gone too far, they erased her. No ceremony, no credit for the ratings. Just gone. So was Jasmine the problem? Or was she the inevitable result of a machine designed to chew people up and spit out content? Because TLC didn't want quiet, stable cast members. They wanted fireworks. They got Jasmine. And when the fireworks started burning the studio down, suddenly she was the liability. That's the part that stings. She played the game exactly how it was designed. And still lost. Because reality TV isn't actually about being real. It's about being controllable. Jasmine forgot that. Or maybe she never cared. Either way, she drove the machine straight into a wall, and the crash was public, messy, and total. And even now, after everything, Jasmine's story isn't over. Because the biggest question isn't whether she'll come back. It's whether she ever really left. Her legacy is complicated. Some fans still see her as iconic. A woman who refused to be managed, edited, or silenced. Others see her as a cautionary tale about ego, entitlement, and self-destruction. Both can be true, because people aren't one thing. Jasmine was magnetic and manipulative, vulnerable and calculated, authentic and performative. She contained multitudes, and that's exactly what made her dangerous to work with and impossible to look away from. But if there's one thing we know for sure, it's this. Jasmine Pineda understood the assignment. She just didn't understand when to stop. And in a world where fame is currency and chaos is content, that one miscalculation cost her everything. She fought so hard to control. Now the question hanging over the entire franchise is whether TLC made the right call, or whether they just set the stage for an even messier comeback. Because if Jasmine's taught us anything, it's that silence is temporary. And revenge? That's patient. Speaking of revenge, you'll want to stick around for what's coming next. Because Jasmine isn't the only cast member who turned the cameras into weapons. There's another name that's been quietly unraveling behind the scenes. And the receipts are about to go public. You're not ready for this one. She was the face of chaos, the queen of clips. And for a while, the savior of ratings. But then just like that, Jasmine Pineda was gone. TLC didn't even build suspense. No warning, no finale twist, no on-screen meltdown. She was cut, quietly erased from upcoming episodes. And if you're thinking, wait, what did we miss? You're not alone. Because the real reason behind her exit wasn't part of the story they aired. It was what happened when the cameras weren't rolling that turned Jasmine from reality royalty into a backstage liability. This is Oliva, and you're watching TLC Drama Files, where we decode the unfiltered truth behind your favorite reality TV train wrecks. If you've got opinions on Jasmine, and I know you do, scroll down and drop a comment. Should TLC have fired her? Or did they play themselves by letting go of their biggest wildcard? And don't forget to subscribe! If you blink in this franchise, someone's already gotten engaged, deported, or deducted from payroll. So let's pull back the curtain. See, a lot of viewers assumed Jasmine was just being her extra firecracker self. Loud, dramatic, emotional, but that's what made her magnetic. The hair flips, the crying in the bathroom scenes, the Instagram sprees. She wasn't boring, and for a reality show built on explosive pairings and unpredictable drama, she was gold. That's why it hit so hard when insiders confirmed her removal wasn't a break. It was a firing. Sources close to production say this wasn't about one explosive fight or messy scene. It was about every fight. Every day she came to set swinging. Not physically, but emotionally, verbally, contractually. What you saw on screen was the PG-13 version. What you didn't see? A cast growing scared to film with her. Crew walking away in tears. Production scrambling to edit entire shoot days into salvageable content. What makes this even messier is how much of it Jasmine knew. She allegedly calculated, not cracked. She played to the audience on camera, but off it, she was playing the network, testing exactly how much havoc she could wreak before they cut her loose. Turns out the line was closer than she thought. You won't believe how one salary demand nearly crashed an entire reunion taping. Keep watching. When Jasmine Pineda first hit the 90-day Fiancé screen, it felt like a lightning strike. Not the slow burn type of cast member who grows on you over time. No, she grabbed attention from the jump. That fiery stare, those wild emotional swings, the brutal honesty that either made you gasp or clap. She knew exactly how to step into a scene and make it hers within seconds. And producers? At first they loved it. She wasn't playing safe, and for a show that thrives on tension, she was a walking goldmine. But here's what most people missed. Jasmine's rise wasn't some quirky accident of personality. It was a strategy. She didn't stumble into popularity. She studied the game. Fast. She watched which moments turned into viral clips. She clocked how often emotional outbursts landed her in promos. She figured out that tears work, but rage gets a double shot of airtime. By her third or fourth episode, Jasmine wasn't just reacting. She was architecting her screen presence. She gave fans the full spectrum. Vulnerability that felt raw one second, and then a sudden explosive flip the next. It kept people glued. One moment she was crying over intimacy issues. The next she was detonating on Gino for things he said in 2016. The whiplash wasn't accidental. It was effective. Reddit threads lit up. Reaction channels couldn't upload videos fast enough. Fan pages posted every Jasmine scene like it was reality TV scripture. And here's the twist. Producers wanted big personalities. They weren't looking to cast someone quiet, calm, or easily controlled. They wanted conflict, confusion, high emotions. Jasmine understood the assignment, and then rewrote her version of it. What they didn't expect was how fast she'd become the one calling the shots without ever stepping behind the camera. At first, they let it pass. How could they not? Viewer engagement was surging. Jasmine had that rare quality producers crave. Unpredictability that wasn't random. Everything felt like it might be real, and that illusion is what keeps viewers addicted. In a franchise packed with copy-paste couples, Jasmine made you feel something. Shock, frustration, occasionally sympathy, and over time, influence. But influence, in the hands of someone who knows exactly how to use it, quickly turns into control. And Jasmine figured that out faster than anyone expected. At first, producers thought Jasmine was just being Jasmine. A little late to call time? Fine. Needing a few extra minutes to cool down between scenes? Okay, understandable. But when those quirks started stacking, skipped interviews, ghosted camera crews, flat out refusing to film unless certain conditions were met, the vibe changed. Quickly, what was once tolerated as diva energy turned into full-blown control games. Jasmine wasn't showing up to play her part anymore. She wanted to co-direct the narrative. And if she didn't like how a scene was framed or what line she was supposed to say, she shut it down. No camera was rolling until her demands were either met or negotiated. Production insiders say she'd routinely miss her scheduled filming windows, leaving crews, who'd already spent money on lighting, setups, travel, literally sitting around for hours. Some days, she'd show up, do one take, then announce she wasn't feeling it, and leave. And it wasn't about nerves or mental health. Allegedly, it was about leverage. She knew every missed shoot created pressure. Every delay cost money. This wasn't carelessness. It was strategy. Jasmine learned the formula: act big, get big, explode on cue, tease emotional breakdowns online, hint at spoilers in her stories. Suddenly, she's not just someone on the show, She's the show. The more chaotic she made things, the more the spotlight followed her. Producers even started reshuffling other couples' storylines to fit around her blow-ups. And that only fueled her belief that she was untouchable. But here's the sharp turn. Reality TV isn't an acting gig. It's still a workplace. And when someone begins treating the production like their personal chessboard, tension builds fast. Multiple crew members, according to whispers, raised red flags about how unpredictable she had become. She wasn't just rewriting her own scenes, she was forcing them to reshoot entire episodes around her meltdowns. Sound techs, editors, makeup, everyone began paying the price. The boundary between iconic cast member and walking HR nightmare started crumbling. What audiences saw as juicy entertainment, the yelling, the crying, the accusations, was costing actual people actual time, money, and sleep behind the scenes. And the real question started bubbling up internally. How far are we willing to let this go before it breaks someone or something? Because here's where it turns. Jasmine wasn't sabotaging the show. She was holding it hostage. And she knew it. On camera, Jasmine played the perfect storm. Unpredictable but magnetic, messy but strangely likable. Viewers saw meltdown after meltdown but still rooted for her. Maybe because she cried just as hard as she cursed. Maybe because deep down it felt like she was hurting. But once the mic packs came off and the boom poles dropped, the vibe allegedly shifted from reality drama to real-life distress. Producers knew they were dealing with intensity, but no one expected the emotional landmines happening between scenes. Crew members started whispering to each other in between takes, wondering if today would be another walkout or worse. According to multiple insiders, Jasmine didn't wind down once scenes wrapped. In fact, the outbursts reportedly got worse. Yelling at producers during car rides, refusing to come out of hotel rooms. Breaking down in ways that left everyone around her frozen. She didn't throw punches. She didn't smash sets, but the tension she brought to the room, it wore people down. Staff started requesting not to be scheduled on Jasmine's scenes. Editors had to toss hours of footage because she wouldn't stick to agreed story beats or because entire cast interviews unraveled mid-shoot. It wasn't drama anymore. It was disruption. One insider claimed that between episodes, Jasmine and Gino got into arguments so long, loud, and heated that production had to stop rolling for extended periods, only to resume in silence. Not the kind of silence that calms down a set, the kind that drags it through mud. People genuinely began to worry, not just about her unpredictable behavior, but about how it was affecting the others. Gino wasn't exactly known for being emotionally steady, but even he reportedly started pulling back, showing signs of sheer exhaustion behind the scenes. And it wasn't just Gino. Several co-stars allegedly refused to film with her unless security or staff were nearby. They didn't say they feared violence. They feared emotional warfare. The screaming, the accusations, the confrontational energy off camera wasn't something they signed up for. Being reality stars was one thing. Living in a pressure cooker with someone who never powered down was something else altogether. But here's the nuance. Jasmine wasn't a villain in the comic book sense. She wasn't scheming with evil music playing behind her. What made this so complicated, and why some insiders still speak about her in conflicted tones, is because it often felt like her chaos came from pain more than power. You'd see her freak out, then sob like a kid lost in the mall. One second she'd torch a conversation, the next she'd crumble, begging for connection the cameras couldn't provide. That's where this gets messy, because pain doesn't excuse everything, but it can explain parts of it. And when pain meets production deadlines, NDAs, and international contracts, it creates friction. Not failure, but something razor sharp you can't keep walking on forever. And backstage, they knew it. Jasmine wasn't slipping, she was spiraling. And no one could predict what would happen next. While the public drama had fans hooked, the private drama had producers sweating. Because as all eyes stayed on Jasmine's emotional roller coaster, the real shock was playing out in payment disputes, missing paperwork, and side hustles that had legal teams working overtime. Turns out, Jasmine wasn't just playing the show. She was flipping it into her own mini enterprise. Allegedly, Jasmine started pocketing money from unofficial brand deals. Think weight loss teas, skincare creams, hair vitamins, all over social media without a single nod to the show's approval process. TLC, like most networks, has strict rules about this. Most cast members sign contracts that say very clearly, no outside sponsorships without written permission. But Jasmine? She reportedly went rogue. Advertisements slid into her stories. Swipe-ups appeared. DMs turned into cash. The timing, Smart. The execution? Messy. Because those deals, tempting as they were, weren't just breaching protocol. They set off a landmine behind the scenes. Production insiders say the network started scrambling to figure out how much she had taken in while under contract. How many sponsored posts were crossing the line from influencer side hustle to legal liability? But Jasmine didn't stop there. She allegedly began pushing hard for more money per episode. Not just for herself, but based on some mysterious understanding that others were getting more. She wanted proof. Salary figures from other cast members. Insiders said she even threatened to walk off a reunion set unless exact numbers were shared. Was it greed? Some say yes, but others think she was moving like someone who knew her days were numbered and wanted a secure payday before things exploded. Because when you feel the ground shifting beneath you, you don't just hold tighter. You grab what you can, whether out of fear, pride, or straight-up survival. But the money moves created serious problems. Other castmates caught wind of Jasmine's alleged side deals and started asking why they couldn't do the same. Why does she get special permission? Turned into, why are we being micromanaged when she's freelancing on Instagram? Suddenly, Jasmine wasn't just dragging down the network. She was threatening the illusion of control producers had carefully built around the entire franchise. Executive producers started getting heat from legal. Do we have a breach here? Can we renegotiate with someone who won't honor a contract? If one cast member starts freelancing, how do we stop the rest? It broke the unspoken agreement between talent and production. You give chaos, they give screen time. But you stay in the lane. Jasmine wasn't just drifting out of hers. She was building her own track and daring everyone else to catch up. And that's when the internal murmurs shifted from frustration to exit strategy. They realized money wasn't the root of the problem. It was the fuel. And she was lighting matches. It all came to a head at one of the most high-stakes moments of the season, the reunion taping. Jasmine walked onto set already on edge, but not from nerves or drama. According to insiders, she had one target locked in her mind. Numbers. Not script notes, not wardrobe issues, paychecks. She reportedly walked right up to a producer before filming and made her demand clear. She wanted to know what every other main cast member was making. Down to the episode, bonuses included. Everybody. Not estimates, not rumors. She wanted receipts. And until she got them, she allegedly said she wouldn't film. At first, people thought she was bluffing. A bit of tension to get in the zone? Sure. But when producers refused to hand over confidential salary information because legally they couldn't, Jasmine didn't just push back. She erupted. Witnesses say she stormed off the set, throwing off her mic, yelling that she was being exploited. While others sipped water and waited for scene cues, Jasmine was backstage shouting about favoritism, discrimination, and threatening to expose everything online if she didn't get what was fair. That wasn't TV drama. That was a live grenade in the middle of production. And the worst part? She wasn't spinning out of control. She knew exactly what she was doing, because Jasmine wasn't new to playing the media game. She knew producers hated unscheduled delays. She knew every extra hour on set was expensive. And she knew fans would eat up any hints of behind-the-scenes suppression if she ever posted about it. So, this wasn't some impulsive, emotional moment gone too far. This was a power move. The difference this time? It flopped. Instead of bending, production bent away. Instead of rewriting the rules to accommodate her, executives began organizing closed-door meetings about how to move forward. Without her. Her bluff had been called. But here's the twist most people missed. Jasmine may have been preparing for this the entire time. With every outburst, every spoiler posted, every cryptic Instagram caption, she was building plausible deniability. So if TLC even looked like they were firing her unfairly, she could spin it as silencing. She still had a social media following. She still had fans ready to believe she was being punished for being real. If they cut her, she'd make noise. Big noise, and the wildest part? She was counting on it. Because for Jasmine, getting fired wasn't the end. It was leverage, and she thought she'd be holding the cards on the way out. At that point, Jasmine wasn't a cast member anymore. She was a corporate crisis, one whose volatility no longer stayed on camera and whose storyline couldn't be edited down to entertainment. Inside TLC, the shift was unmistakable. What began as a conversation about managing difficult talent had now escalated to boardroom-level reassessments. And the question was brutal in its simplicity. Is she worth keeping? The legal team was already knee-deep in contract analysis. Jasmine's unofficial sponsorships, her on-set walkouts, even some of her social media posts, all of it raised red flags. Were there NDA violations? Potential breaches of contract? Could she be sued for damages if she went fully rogue online? The emails we're told were flying, not because they wanted revenge, but because they realized the risk was growing faster than the ratings. Behind the scenes, everything was fragile. Production staff were reportedly exhausted and fed up, having to redesign shoot schedules around sudden vanishings, renegotiated scenes, and unpredictable flare-ups. Imagine budgeting 10 hours of filming, only to get 40 minutes of usable footage because Jasmine decided she didn't like her lighting or the wording of a question. Again, producers weren't the only ones reaching their limit. Cast members started checking out, audibly, visibly. Some refused to share scenes with her. A few asked to work on different days altogether. And Gino? Word is, even he started waving off interviews when Jasmine was involved. That calm, awkward silence we saw him carry on screen. Off camera, it was reportedly something much heavier. Fatigue. Maybe even fear of how far things would spiral next. And it wasn't just internal stress. The network knew what she was capable of online. She'd hinted, repeatedly, that she had recordings, screenshots, secrets. Some might have been exaggerated. Some very real. The threat wasn't that she'd spill everything. It was that she'd say just enough to create chaos. Posts that got shared, quotes that went viral. A single TikTok could nuke months of episode buildup. Suddenly, TLC had something scarier than an explosive cast member. They had a brand liability in heels. A one-woman PR nightmare with a public following, a chaotic streak, and nothing left to lose. The old rationale. But look at the engagement she brings. No longer held up. Engagement doesn't cover lawsuits. Clicks can't undo harassment complaints. All the hashtags in the world mean nothing when half your crew doesn't want to show up if she's on set. And that's when network executives face the final, uncomfortable trade-off. Protect the show's viewership numbers, or protect the people who make the show happen. They picked safety over spectacle. But by then, Jasmine already had her next move in motion. And cutting her was only going to make her louder. For a while, Jasmine had the fan base on her side. Comment sections defended her. Reaction videos praised her authenticity. Twitter threads broke down why she was misunderstood, and actually the most real person on the show. But the love started cracking when she brought the chaos from behind the scenes to right in front of the audience. It started small, cryptic Instagram stories that hinted at being used or people not knowing the truth, vague enough to create buzz but sharp enough to feel like accusations. Then came the spoiler bombs. She'd post details about episodes before they aired, tease plot twists, drop hints about her relationship status or contract drama, all while the network was still trying to build suspense. Fans ate it up at first, but others noticed the pattern. She wasn't just teasing, she was sabotaging. Then the shade turned obvious. Posts aimed at producers, subliminal digs at co-stars. One day she'd go live on social media mid-season and rant about how some people get treated better behind the scenes. No names, no direct accusations, just enough to make fans speculate and castmates nervous. She was weaponizing her audience without ever pulling the trigger herself.